literacy assessment. Et nous allons procéder à la cérémonie d'ouverture de l'atelier. Au cours de cette cérémonie, nous aurons 2 allocutions. Et nous allons permettre à Dr Christian de prononcer un mot au nom de l'IEA. Et après M. Christian, nous allons permettre à M. Lam, directeur de la planification et de la réforme de l'éducation au ministère de l'Éducation nationale, de prononcer le mot d'ouverture au nom de M. le ministre de l'Éducation nationale empêché. C'est bon? Donc sans tarder, nous allons permettre à Dr Christian de prononcer son speech.
Thank you so much, Diop. First, a little housekeeping information for those in the room translating from English to French. In order to make it work, you need to put in the headphones, and then you can turn it on and it will work. So, ladies and gentlemen, esteemed colleagues and distinguished guests, good morning to everyone, whether it's afternoon, midday, depending on where you are attending online. It's my great honor and pleasure to welcome you to the launch of the Literacy and Numeracy Assessment Linking Study Report and Results. Today marks an important milestone in our shared commitment to improving educational opportunities for children worldwide. LaNA was developed by the International Association for the Evaluation of Educational Achievement, IEA, in collaboration with the Tims and Pearls International Study Center at Boston College. The initiative provides reliable, standardized data on foundational reading and mathematics skills among primary school students. Importantly, it is designed to be accessible and practical for countries that may not yet participate in large-scale international assessments, thereby offering an invaluable tool for strengthening their educational systems. When I was appointed at the chair for IEA, I had 3 key guiding values for my term. One of them is participation. This term holds several meanings for me. First, it relies to the substantial freedom or the capability for all children in the world to participate in high-quality education. Or as Nobel Prize winner Amartya Sen once wrote in an opinion piece in the New York Times, he called it to build a country, build a schoolhouse. He said, the contribution of basic education to development is not, however, confined to economic progress. Education has intrinsic importance. The capability to read and write can deeply influence one's quality of life. The LaNA linking study directly supports this goal. It does not merely monitor education, it provides valuable insights into improving education for the intrinsic benefit of better lives. I also understand participation in another sense. The inclusion of more countries from less represented regions of the world in our studies. LaNA is a crucial first step in making that reality. However, data is never enough. It's the thought, the engagement with country experts, policymakers, researchers, and not the least practitioners working directly with education systems that we truly gain knowledge and insights. Their expertise provides the depth and context that transform these numbers into meaningful strategies for educational improvement. Today, these country experts are present here and will participate in the panel discussion, which I look very much forward to. Today's event, hosted and partnered with INEADE in Dakar, Senegal, is a testament to this commitment of joining and improving education worldwide. As we engage in these discussions, I encourage each of you to reflect on how we can collectively advance the quality of education in the global pursuit for educational improvement for all children. So thank you very much, and I will turn and introduce now the next presenters. It's a great honor to present and have the presentation now by Dr. Lal Coronel at Boston College and Eugene Gonzalez. Lael is the Director of Digital Assessment at the Tims and Pearls International Study Center at Boston College. She is specialized in psychometrics, applied statistics, and international large-scale assessment, and leads digital assessment innovations, research and test-taking behavior and process data. And Dr. Gonzalez is Senior Research Director at the Tims and Pearls International Study Center, where he oversees the areas of data analysis, psychometrics, and assessments innovations. And we will also hear afterwards from Executive Director Dr. Dirk Hastad, who will give the key takeaways from the LaNA. So I will start giving the floor to Eugene and Lael for the next. But before that, we will have a short talk from our esteemed colleagues from the ministry.
Merci beaucoup. Je ne sais pas si je peux prononcer mon mot à partir d'ici. Merci. Peut-être avant de prononcer le message de Madame la Secrétaire Générale qui avait tenu à être avec nous. Hier, on s'était donné rendez-vous directement ici. Et arrivée sur place, elle a été rappelée par Monsieur le ministre pour la représenter aussi à un autre atelier sur le développement des curricula, un atelier avec des intervenants au niveau international. C'est pas bon. Si c'est audible, c'est bon. Sinon, je vais là-bas, c'est bon. Merci. Donc, vous transmettre d'abord ces regrets, vraiment, Madame la SG, qui avait été commise par Monsieur le ministre pour venir aujourd'hui procéder au lancement de ce rapport extrêmement important. Je disais tout à l'heure que personnellement, c'est une satisfaction que de voir que les discussions qu'on avait à Paris, lorsqu'on était parti pour une visite d'expérience auprès de la DEP avec Thierry Rocher, réunion durant laquelle une délégation de l'IEA avait fait le déplacement pour venir à Paris pour qu'on discute de LaNA. Aujourd'hui, c'est la consécration de cette réunion qu'on avait tenue avec Massar et Khalil. Et c'est vraiment une satisfaction que de voir que mon successeur, le directeur, a pu concrétiser ce partenariat. C'est un atelier international. Je vois que le Burkina est représenté. Au niveau du ministère, les directions clés sont là. La direction de l'évaluation, la direction pédagogique, ma direction en tant que direction chargée de la réforme et des politiques éducatives. On est dans une grande dynamique de mise à jour parce qu'il y a eu un changement institutionnel au niveau du pays. On est dans une grande dynamique de mise à jour de nos documents de politique, la lettre de politique sectorielle, tous nos documents de planification, de programmation, les modèles de simulation. Un tel rapport, une fois exploité, va être un intrant extraordinaire dans le processus de révision globale des documents pays. Je m'en vais vous lire le message de Madame la SG en espérant que d'ici qu'on termine les 3 jours, elle pourrait peut-être faire un saut. Elle est à côté dans un autre atelier. Monsieur le Président de l'Association internationale pour l'évaluation des acquis scolaires, Monsieur le directeur du bureau régional de l'UNESCO, s'il est là, honorables partenaires de l'éducation, représentants des pays, je pense à notre ami du Burkina, bienvenue au Sénégal, mesdames, messieurs les directeurs et chefs de service, chers membres de l'équipe du Sénégal, mesdames, messieurs, à vos rangs et titres respectifs. C'est un plaisir pour moi de présider aujourd'hui la cérémonie d'ouverture de l'atelier de lancement du rapport et des résultats de l'étude de liaison LaNA à Dakar au Sénégal. Je voudrais, à l'entame de mon propos, au nom de son Excellence M. Bassirou Diomaye Diakhar Faye, président de la République du Sénégal, remercier M. le directeur exécutif de l'Association internationale pour l'évaluation des acquis scolaires, INEADE, et souhaiter la bienvenue aux illustres représentants des pays participants, mais également aux différents partenaires d'avoir bien voulu participer à cet important événement. Aujourd'hui, je me tiens devant vous avec un profond sentiment d'engagement envers l'avenir de notre école, car nous nous réunissons pour discuter des faits saillants du rapport et des résultats de LaNA susceptibles de rendre efficace le management de la qualité de l'éducation. Une ambition qui nous mobilise pour garantir un avenir radieux à la jeunesse de notre pays. Le président de la République nous rappelle que la qualité de l'éducation revêt une importance particulière, d'où la nécessité de prendre des mesures hardies pour l'accès de tous à une éducation de qualité et en parfaite adéquation avec le monde du travail. Ainsi, il nous revient d'accorder un grand intérêt à la transformation de l'éducation afin d'assurer que chaque enfant, quelle que soit sa situation économique, ait un accès équitable à une éducation de qualité. Aujourd'hui, dans notre pays, un des maillons à consolider pour le rayonnement de notre système éducatif reste les politiques et les pratiques à mettre en œuvre, d'où l'intérêt que revêt l'événement que l'Association internationale pour l'évaluation des acquis scolaires nous donne l'opportunité de célébrer aujourd'hui à Dakar. En 2022, M. le directeur exécutif de l'IA avait invité notre pays à participer à une administration spéciale concernant la nouvelle évaluation de la littératie et de la numératie LaNA, ce que notre pays avait accepté favorablement en désignant l'INEADE pour la coordination de cette activité destinée aux élèves en fin d'école primaire. À travers ce programme, l'IA a permis à notre pays de disposer d'une indication du pourcentage de nos élèves atteignant un niveau minimum de compétences en lecture et en mathématiques, et par conséquent un moyen de suivre les progrès vers l'ODD 4. Il faut dire que ça a été une grosse difficulté de pouvoir avoir des éléments statistiques pour renseigner vraiment la cible 4.1. La cible globalement 4, étant entendu que nos évaluations internes ne ciblaient pas la sortie de l'éducation de base, donc après les 10 années, on est en train de travailler avec la Confémen. Je crois que ça, ce sera un intrant extraordinaire pour nous permettre d'avoir. Je dirige une direction des statistiques chargée du suivi global des indicateurs pays. Et c'est une grosse opportunité, en tout cas, aux côtés de ce que nous sommes en train de faire dans le passé, pour que cet indicateur soit renseigné. On est presque à moins de 10 ans de la fin de l'agenda 2030. C'est le lieu de remercier au nom de M. le ministre de l'Éducation, M. Moustapha Mbamba Guirassi, le directeur exécutif de l'IEA, qui a pris en charge les frais de participation internationaux de LaNA pour le Sénégal et l'équipe du Sénégal pour son engagement. La rencontre d'aujourd'hui permettra donc, après l'accompagnement technique et financier de l'IEA, de faire le point sur les résultats de l'étude, d'en tirer les principaux points à retenir pour les politiques et les pratiques. L'occasion sera saisie par les pays participants de partager leur expérience avec LaNA et de formuler les défis rencontrés. Les solutions et propositions d'amélioration pour les cycles d'administration ultérieurs de LaNA. C'est donc dire que l'opportunité nous est donnée, à travers cette étude, de contribuer aux perspectives et de consolider notre collaboration avec l'IA. Je vous exhorte, donc je nous exhorte à nous tous, nos participants, à participer pleinement à cet atelier pour faire de nos pays des terreaux fertiles d'implémentation des bonnes pratiques dans la mise en œuvre de LaNA. J'ose espérer qu'au terme de cet atelier, vos contributions, donc nos contributions, nous permettront de satisfaire les attentes en vue d'impulser la qualité de l'éducation dans nos pays respectifs. Je demeure convaincu que les différents experts réunis dans cette salle proposeront au terme de la journée des synergies constructives pour la réussite de l'atelier de lancement. J'encourage l'IEA et l'UNESCO à ne pas s'arrêter pour accompagner les décisions stratégiques en perspective, donc nos pays qui participent dans cette initiative. En attendant les conclusions de la session, je vous souhaite de fructueux échanges et déclare ouverts les travaux de l'atelier de lancement du rapport des résultats de l'étude de liaison LaNA. Je vous remercie pour votre attention. C'était ça la présentation fidèle du mot que Madame la SG tenait à prononcer devant vous, en rappelant qu'elle a été empêchée et que sûrement, quand elle aura un petit moment, elle passera pour saluer les experts qui ont fait le déplacement. Merci. Sur ce, je retourne la modération à directeur. Je vous retourne votre.
Voilà. Voilà, merci beaucoup. Je pense donc maintenant on lance les travaux suivant les indications formulées tout à l'heure par Dr Christian. On va continuer donc avec Dr Leite, Dr Gonzalez et peut-être Dr Dirk. C'est bon. Voilà, merci.
Welcome again to this release. You have one more presentation before we show you the results, and it's my turn. Con, it's not advancing. Okay. Okay, so welcome again to this presentation of the LaNA 2023 Linking Study results. As many of you know, the LaNA is the IEA's new literacy and numeracy assessment. And it's a reliable and internationally comparable measure of emerging reading and mathematics skills at the end of the primary school. It is based on the TIMSS Mathematics and Pearls Reading Assessment frameworks. And it's also a shorter, less complex, and less demanding assessment than TIMSS and Pearls is. It is easier to administer and also less resource intensive. So it is designed to be administered on demand and under quick request. It is intended for countries where TIMSS and Pearls may be too difficult or unfeasible to implement. And as a brief reminder or refresher, TIMSS is an international mathematics and science study, a mathematics and science assessment administered every 4 years to students in grades 4 and grade 8, and it has been administered since 1995. Pearls is the Progress in International Reading Literacy study, and this is a reading literacy assessment administered every 5 years to students at grade 4. And the first assessment of Pearls was in 2001. There are over 70 countries participating in TIMSS and Pearls combined, in addition to several subnational jurisdictions that also participate and they get reported in the reports. In 2023, the IEA and Boston College collaborated in a study to link the results from the LaNA assessment to those of TIMSS, mathematics, and Pearls reading. And these are the results that we will be presenting today. The study was conducted in 6 participating countries: Burkina Faso, Egypt, Nigeria, Pakistan, Palestinian National Authority, the West Bank area, and in Senegal. Across the 6 participating countries, at least 100 schools were selected from each of the countries, and overall, there were more than 30,000 students from 870 schools that took part in this linking study. About the assessment instruments, the LaNA assessment booklets with newly developed content were administered together with 4 booklets containing existing TIMSS, mathematics, and PEARLS reading items. The assessment booklets were administered, followed by a student questionnaire to collect context data related to student learning. And also there was a context questionnaire administered to the school principals of the schools. The LaNA 2023 linking study was very successful, and today we will present selected results from this linking study. A main accomplishment of the linking study was the introduction of the new basic international benchmarks for mathematics and reading. And these aid the monitoring of progress towards meeting the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals SDG 4.1.1b. And here we have that the LaNA Basic International Benchmarks for Mathematics and Reading are placed on the same scale as the TIMSS and PEARLS International Benchmarks. And the results are reported in LaNA using all benchmarks. So you will be able to see the percentage of students in the country meeting the LaNA benchmarks, but also the benchmarks that are set for TIMSS and PEARLS. And those are the low international benchmarks, intermediate, high, and advanced international benchmarks. The margin of errors for shorter assessments, such as LaNA, is larger than for TIMSS and PEARLS using longer tests. And this is because of the longer tests and partly because of the sampling selection procedure that takes place. To help with the interpretation and to support the proper use of the data, the achievement results are going to be reported as confidence intervals. These confidence intervals visualize a range of that likely covers the true population value under repeated sampling. The LaNA report uses a 95% confidence level for determining the width of this interval, which is frequently chosen in reporting statistics. Before presenting the results, I want to highlight some of the benefits of participating in an assessment like LaNA. One benefit is to be able to obtain country-level results that help countries monitor progress towards the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. A second benefit is to compare results against new achievement benchmarks that were established, the LaNA Basic International Benchmarks for Mathematics and Reading, and the TIMSS Mathematics and PEARLS Reading International Benchmarks. And last but not least, it's also an opportunity for capacity building for the participating countries in conducting these types of large-scale assessments. So now I will hand over the podium to my colleague, Dr. Corandel, who will then present the results.
Thank you very much, Eugene. It is my great pleasure to now present key results from the LaNA 2023 linking study. Results for mathematics and reading are presented separately. Let's start with mathematics. This graph is showing the mathematics scale score distribution for the participating countries ordered by performance from higher performance to lower performance from top to bottom. To better understand performance differences, looking at the percent of students reaching international benchmarks on the mathematics scale is helpful. Benchmarks describe what students know and can do when reaching a specific benchmark. To better understand the student performance at the lower benchmark, the lower end of the scale, LaNA, like my colleague already said, offers a new basic international benchmark for mathematics. That benchmark is located below the lowest TIMSS benchmark. Let's take a look at the benchmark description for the basic benchmark. Here you can see a summary description of the basic international benchmark introduced by the LaNA linking study. A more detailed description of the same benchmark is available in the International Results Report for the LaNA linking study. Students who reach the basic international benchmark show emerging understanding of calculations and can work with simple whole numbers. They can add and subtract quantities when presented in mathematical contexts. They have some understanding of multiplication and they can compare whole numbers. Students can identify shapes and have some knowledge about basic properties of common shapes. Moreover, they can read straightforward data representations. This graph now shows you the percentages of students reaching the international benchmarks of mathematics achievement for the LaNA countries. What you can see here is the average across the LaNA countries as indicated by the median. You can see that the basic international benchmark that was introduced by LaNA is reached by 70% of the students across the participating countries. Fewer students, 44%, are reaching the low benchmark, which is the lowest benchmark on the TIMSS scale. And only 15 students across countries are reaching the intermediate benchmark or a higher benchmark. When we look at the individual country results for students reaching the international benchmarks, we see some variation across the countries. However, generally we see the same pattern across countries as indicated by the previous graph. That is that the majority of students is reaching the basic benchmark, while fewer students are reaching the low benchmark and only a few students are reaching the intermediate or a higher benchmark. To put that a little bit more in context, I'm now going to present to you the percent of students reaching international benchmarks in TIMSS. More specifically, we are looking at the TIMSS countries that participated in TIMSS 2019. And here you can see the average across those TIMSS 2019 countries as represented by the median. And you can see that on average, the typical TIMSS countries are higher performing than the typical LaNA countries. You see that almost all the students, 99%, are reaching the basic benchmark that was introduced by LaNA. The majority also reaches the low benchmark with 92% across countries. And a large portion also reaches the intermediate benchmark or above with 71%. I want to mention here that those percentages reaching the benchmarks are not cumulative. That means they don't add up to 100%. It means that from the student population, 99% reach the basic benchmarks, then 92% that reach the low benchmark also reach the basic benchmark. It means that those students know and can do what is described in the basic benchmark and what is described in the low benchmark. The 71% that reach the intermediate or a higher benchmark also know and can do what is described in the basic and the low benchmarks, as well as the intermediate benchmark or a higher benchmark. Now let's just put the LaNA country results again in comparison to the TIMSS results. So you can see that fewer countries in LaNA reach the low benchmark and only very few students across LaNA countries reach the intermediate or higher benchmark. So you see the performance difference to TIMSS. And what is important to note here that in the past, before we had the basic benchmark, we didn't have a lot of information about the students at the lower end of the scale. So we didn't have information about students that now show to reach the basic benchmark, but not the low or a higher benchmark. So this means that the introduction of the basic benchmark now provides us with so much more information about what students know and can do at the lower end of the scale. So for countries for which TIMSS is too difficult, but LaNA is appropriate, we now have more information about the students at the lower ends of the achievement scale. This gives us much more information and a huge advantage, and I think this is the big accomplishment of LaNA, that this assessment and these benchmarks that are introduced by the assessment now provide us with additional information that can be very useful for policy and practice, as Dr. Dirk Hasted is going to present later. Let's look at the reading achievements. This graph introduces the scale score distributions of reading achievement for all the participating countries. Again, the achievement is ordered from the highest to the lowest achievement. And to better understand performance and achievement differences, it is again very helpful to look at the basic international benchmark introduced by LaNA. So let's take a look at the basic international benchmark for reading. Here you see the description of this basic international benchmark. In LaNA, similar to PEARLS, students are presented with literary texts and informational texts. When reading LaNA literacy texts, students who reach the basic international benchmark retrieve and recognize explicitly stated details and information from a limited section of the text. They can make simple, straightforward inferences to recognize a character's action or feeling. When reading LaNA informational texts, students who reach the basic international benchmark can retrieve and recognize explicitly stated details from a confined section of the text. They can make simple, straightforward inferences about an action or a process. So let's look at the percentages of students reaching this new benchmark in the LaNA countries. Again, here you see the average across the LaNA countries indicated by the median. 55% of the students are reaching the basic benchmark introduced by LaNA, 25% the low benchmark, and only 7% reach the intermediate or a higher benchmark. Again, looking at the individual country results shows some variation. In some countries, a few more students reach the intermediate or a higher benchmark, but in general, we can see that a larger percentage of students reaches the basic benchmark, fewer students reach the low benchmark, and only few students reach the intermediate or a higher benchmark. To put that into perspective, I want to show you the results for PEARLS countries who participated in PEARLS 2021. Here we see the average across those PEARLS countries reaching international benchmarks, and we can see that the majority also reaches the intermediate benchmark or above with 75%. Again, we see in general a higher performance of the PEARLS countries compared to the LaNA countries. And I think here it is even more evident that in the past, when we only had the low benchmark and not the basic benchmark, we didn't have information about a large number of the students who only reaches the basic benchmark but not the low or a higher benchmark. Now with the introduction of this new basic benchmark for reading, we have so much more information about these students and can use that information for policy and practice. Let's look at some context for learning. LaNA does not only present achievement results, but LaNA also collects contextual information on factors associated with student learning. Questionnaires for students and questionnaires for school administrators are offering reliable data to inform educational policy and support evidence-based strategies. In the following, I'm going to present some key results from selected context variables. While I will be focusing on the relation of these context variables with achievement results in mathematics and reading, we will later hear from Dr. Hasstedt about the importance of these variables for policy and practice. The first variable I want you to pay attention to is gender differences. So here we see again the mathematics achievement scale score distribution for the participating LaNA countries, but separately this time for boys and girls. You can see that the results for girls are presented at the top, then followed by the results for boys. And when looking at the confidence intervals indicated by the black marks in the middle, we do not see obvious gender differences in any of the countries. However, when we look at the achievement scale score distributions for reading, which you can see here, we can see that in Palestine and Egypt, we have a clearer difference between the achievement distribution of boys and girls. And also we have a more obvious difference in Pakistan, with girls showing the tendency to outperform boys in reading achievement. Now I want you to pay attention to another variable from our context questionnaires, which deals with the frequency of students' absence from school. Here we have different categories. We have students who never or almost never are absent from school, with 55% of students being reported in this category. Then 7% of students are reported to being absent from school once every 2 months. 9% are absent once a month. 7% are absent once every 2 weeks. And 22% across the LaNA countries are absent at least once a week. Again, this is the average across the participating LaNA countries, and the relation to mathematics is a positive one, in the sense that students who are reported to be absent more frequently from school show a lower mathematics achievements, while students who are reported to be less frequently absent from school tend to show a higher mathematics achievement. We can see very similar results when looking at the reading achievement. Students who are reported to being absent from school more frequently tend to show a lower reading achievement in LaNA compared to students who are reported to being absent less frequently. This group tends to have higher reading achievement. Students also reported on their sense of belonging to school, which means they were asked whether they like being in school and whether they feel like they belong in school, and also whether they feel safe in school. And we can see that 69% of the students reported that they have a high sense of belonging in school. 25 reported that they have at least some sense of belonging in school, and only 7% reported they have little sense of belonging in school. Again, we see a positive relationship with mathematics achievement, with students reporting a higher sense of belonging to school, showing higher mathematics achievement than students who report only some or little sense of belonging to school. We see a very similar pattern in reading, with students reporting higher sense of belonging to school, showing a higher reading achievement compared to students who report a lower sense of belonging to school. Another interesting variable is students' attitudes towards mathematics and reading. Here, students are asked whether they like learning mathematics and whether they like reading, and they're also asked how confident they are in the mathematics and reading achievement. Here, students are categorized in either having very positive attitudes towards mathematics and reading, with 56% of students reporting in that category. 34% of students reported they have at least a somewhat positive attitude towards mathematics and reading, and 10% report a less than positive attitude. Again, we can see that the higher the reported attitudes toward mathematics and reading in terms of the more positive students' attitudes is, the higher is the mathematics achievement. And we see a very similar result for reading achievement. The higher the reported attitudes, or the more positive the reported attitudes towards mathematics and reading, the higher the reading achievement. The last context variable that I want to introduce to you is students' perception of instruction. Here, students are asked if they understand what the teacher says during school, and whether they are interested in what the teacher says. And students are again categorized into either having a less than positive, a somewhat positive, or a very positive perception of instruction. Students who report to have a more positive perception of instruction tend to show higher mathematics achievement compared to students who report a less than positive or just a somewhat positive perception of instruction. And we see very similar results for reading, with students reporting a more positive perception of instruction, showing a higher reading achievement compared to students who report a less positive perception of instruction. I hope you enjoyed those key results in this presentation. Further information is available in the linking study report that is now available on the Tims and Pearls International Studies Center website, and I'm presenting the link here. On this website, you can also access the international database from the LaNA 2023 linking study, and you can use the database for secondary analysis and your research. So thank you so much for your attention, and I will now give over to Dirk Hastedt.
All right. Thank you very much, LaNA, and thank you, Eugene, and also thank you to Christian, and special thanks to our host here in this beautiful country where they have this wonderful event. The first thing I'd like to say is also a big thanks to countries who participated in this huge endeavor. I know it's always a big task and a challenging task to conduct such a study, but we have this great data now available, and I hope it will inform policy. So a big thanks to you, and definitely last but not least, a big thanks to all the schools, to all the students who participated in this study. Without them, we would not have this data that we are presenting here today. So, we heard about LaNA. LaNA is a new literacy and numeracy assessment, an international assessment that is designed to measure emerging reading and mathematics skills in primary school level, especially targeted for low and middle income countries. We are offering a very flexible study because, as you may know, that other international studies like TIMS or Pearls, they are conducted on a cycle like 4 or 5 years. The big advantage, of course, is here that this is an off-the-shelf product, so LaNA can be conducted anytime it's suitable for a country. And I think that's a very good advantage. We also can connect that to the Sustainable Development Goals. You can use it for monitoring the progress towards SDG. LaNA measures mathematics and reading skills across various levels. I think that's very important. Not only measuring at a specific target, but it gives you the whole range of students' abilities. Also students who are reaching very advanced marks. It includes various insights from contextual questions, and that's very important. It's not only about achievement, it's about how that relates to background characteristics, because this then can inform policies. The study itself also gives the opportunity for national capacity building, so that countries participating in that also will gain capacities in conducting large-scale assessments in general. And we also have additional modules and support that's possible with that study. The advantage is also that we have a very simplified design. It is a pen and paper format with multiple choice items only, so it's easier to administer and definitely less resource intense than most international studies, including TIMSS and PEARLS. It also, the off-cycle implementation that I see as a big advantage, so countries can choose when they want to conduct it. We also offer the opportunity that either the results will be published or can be just for the country that wants to participate, if that's more of interest to the countries. So our linking study, what we just heard, we introduced a new basic international benchmark to give you the full range of students' abilities. So it is meant to be also available if you have a good percentage of students below the low benchmark. So you can see where exactly are these students, what are the characteristics of these students. And that can help inform policy to advance all students' achievement. So for us, one of the most interesting and important findings was that the study could be linked to TIMSS and PEARLS. We have this basic international benchmark, and we also use it now in TIMSS and PEARLS, so you can see and compare what are percentages of students reaching the different benchmarks, including new basic benchmarks, TIMSS and PEARLS, and the countries who administer LaNA. It gives a wealth of data for achievement and a national context. As already shown by Eugene, the reports are presented in confidence intervals rather than just point estimates. That helps to get a good and correct interpretation of the results. I found personally very striking are the results that also LaNA already presented regarding the gender results. In reading, the picture is very similar to what we see in PEARLS. Mostly girls achieving higher than boys, or in some countries there's a small difference. However, in mathematics, the achievement levels are not really substantially different when we compare boys and girls. And that's a big difference for what we just found in the TIMSS 2023, and the results were published end of last year. There we saw that there was a big gender gap and an increasing gender gap, with boys outperforming girls in a majority of countries. So that's very interesting result here. We do not see that here. And it's definitely worth looking further into that, why that is the case. It's definitely an achievement of these countries to get boys and girls on the same achievement level in mathematics. So very positive, I think. So let's look at the reading achievement scores, and as we have seen and reported by LaNA already, we see in some countries a substantial gender difference in favor of girls. In some it's more alike. But as I said, what I found even more important and interesting is the gender difference in mathematics in these countries participating here. And this definitely deserves some further exploration. Why is that the case? I think it's very positive, a very positive outcome for these countries. However, we should also look at the context of that. This is just the achievement level, but on the bottom, you can see also the percentages of boys and girls. And we could see, for example, that in Burkina Faso, the students that were assessed, so the students that were in school when we did the assessment, so the actual students, we saw 56 of them were girls and 44% were boys. So boys were less attending schools, at least when we did the assessment. I know there's official statistics. They go in a similar direction, but this is not official statistics. This is what we saw in schools. And that might be even more important and interesting. And we see huge gender differences in many countries. Sometimes we see more girls, sometimes we see more boys and girls in the school. So, for example, as I said, in Burkina Faso, we see more girls. On the other hand, in Pakistan, for example, we see more boys in the schools at the day of the assessment. Very interesting, and that's background information, not only to look at achievement, but also look at participation in education. Very interesting. We also saw the power of the perceptions of the students' attitudes. In all 6 countries, they show a strong correlation between liking mathematics and reading and higher achievement levels. For example, children who had a very positive attitude towards mathematics scored around 70 score point higher than children with less positive attitudes in Egypt. That's a substantial difference. And if you compare that to the difference we see between countries, we see that these differences are even much, much larger. And that's what we need to pay attention to. Also in Pakistan, we saw a 50-point score difference between children who had very positive attitudes towards reading and children with less positive attitudes. I think this is important information, especially for policymaking. This is something where you can influence things. This is how we can drive education. What we also saw is we saw huge percentages of students being absent from school. Throughout the different countries, it's differing. But overall, we see that more than 20% of the students said that they're absent at least once a week. That's substantial. And that's been shown by LaNA. It is connected to higher achievement level. So the important message here is we need to get the children into school. It makes a difference. And we see huge proportions of students not attending school regularly. That's also a result we saw already in TIMSS and presented last year. It's very similar across countries. This is nothing that's only in your countries, in the countries that participate in LaNA. It's a phenomenon that we see across many countries currently, but also in the countries that participate in LaNA. Now we have the evidence that there's a substantial amount of students not attending school regularly, and it's related to achievement very strongly. Another one that I personally found very, very interesting, we also asked the students about the frequency of speaking the test language at home. So the students were always assessed in the language that the instruction is taking place. But we know that there's huge differences also between countries, how often the country is spoken at home. And here we see for every country the categories of students who said that they always speak the language at home, they almost always speak the language of home, of test at home, they sometimes speak the language of test at home, or they never speak the language of test at home. And we can see that the difference, there are huge differences on the bottom. You can see that, for example, in Palestine, only 2% of the students said that they never speak the language of test at home, Arabic. And the big majority, 86%, almost always speak the language of test at home. Very different, for example, to Senegal, where 6% of the students said that they always speak the language of test at home, but 23% of the students said that they speak the language at home never. So substantial differences about the students' background and with what they come to school. In TIMSS and Pearls, we usually see a strong correlation between students speaking the language of tests at home and their achievement in mathematics and reading. However, what we can see here is that in some countries, there's no relationship at all. For example, in Egypt, the students that speak the language of tests at home and those who never do, they achieve at about the same level. I don't know the situation in all these countries, but it's definitely something to explore further. It's a very interesting outcome, and in my opinion, a positive outcome. It means that your education seems to be able to moderate the effect of not speaking the language at home to a good proportion. So we need to see further what's going on here. But I would say it's a very positive result. And we say that in mathematics, and we see that also in reading, although with some differences also here. Very interesting results, and also very remarkable results about the achievement in these countries. So, final conclusion. We have now a successful link to TIMSS and Pearls. We have a psychometric link established between the scales of LaNA and TIMSS and Pearls. We now have a new basic international benchmark for numeracy and for literacy that helps informing what can students on the lower end can do. We have a pathway for future LaNA administrations, and the findings highlight more than just achievement, but they are there to support insights for policy. And one of the things is that the importance of attending school is a central point in education. We need to make sure that school students are participating in education. And I think there are some other results which are sometimes similar to what we found before, but also some differences to what we saw before. And also the countries can use, of course, the benchmark and the percentage of students reaching the benchmark to track progress towards SDG. For future administrations, LaNA is available now, and we hope to expand participation in LaNA for the future to more countries, for capacity building and for leveraging insights into educational improvement. The full report is available online, downloadable, of course for free. It gives you all the information, and there's also more information on materials and about future participation for those countries who might be interested to participate. So with that, I thank you all for your attention, and congratulations to all the countries for this huge endeavor and the success of this study. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dirk Hastert. Now we have some time for questions. You can post your question in French or English, and we will translate. And you can do it both online or within the room. If you want to pose a question, just raise your hand within the room, and online it will be catched in the chat. And I have to say, on a personal note, it's been very inspiring to hear all the results and also the many things that you comes to your mind about gender equality and bringing in new ways of assessing all children, no matter which benchmark level they are at. I think it's very interesting. So, but the floor is open for questions, remarks. Yes, please. I think we will have a microphone for the online listeners as well.
Thank you, all for the presentations, and many thanks for LaNA team for this huge effort and communication. I am Dr. Matar from Palestine. I think I may raise the issue of terminology here. We used to communicate, with the field with literacy and numeracy, not math and language. So is it the same? Because in our case, I'm talking about in the culture, Arab culture, we know literacy is not reading and numeracy is not mathematics. But we in the title of the study, we use literacy and numeracy, and in the presentations, you use mathematics and reading. So if there is any explanations or something like that. Also, I have another question, if possible, or I can leave the mic to others. The other one is when you start comparing TIMSS pearls with LaNA. And in some countries, like in our case, we didn't participate TIMSS, 4th grade, and pearls. So is there any possibility to predict some results based on LaNA findings? What we can do in TIMSS and pearls? Prediction issues. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Two very important and interesting questions. I will leave it to Lael to answer these.
Yes, I will answer your first question about literacy and numeracy versus mathematics and reading. So LaNA had different versions in prior pilots during the development process. And in the very beginning, we did have more items that would measure literacy and numeracy, but then found that the large majority or a part of those items were too easy in most of the participating countries. So they didn't give us a lot of information about students' proficiencies. Therefore, we removed them from the assessment, and in the new updated version of LaNA that we also used in the LaNA linking study, we have more items that measure reading and mathematics and not just numeracy and literacy. Therefore, while the title has numeracy and literacy assessment, if you look at what LaNA is actually really measuring now in the new updated version, it is more mathematics and reading proficiency. And this is where this discrepancy comes from.
Okay, and if I may add, first also huge congratulations to you and your team to have managed also administering LaNA in, as we know, a very difficult situation. It's very, very impressive to us. We are very, impressed. Regarding your question, I think it's also interesting to look at the assessment. It's not like just a word recognition and just decoding. It's really about, can students read a passage and find the key messages that are in the text. And I think that's a very interesting and great feature of it. It's really about, can students read and get the meaning? So very, very interesting and important. Regarding your question also, how that links to TIMSS and pearls, the achievement scores are on the same metric. So it's exactly a one-to-one match. So you can exactly see where you are in TIMSS and pearls. And that's a big advantage. Therefore, we had this linking study. And we administered the LaNA together with materials from TIMSS and pearls so that it is now on the same scale. Therefore, we had this linking study. And as I said, it was successful. We have it now on the same scale. And that's a huge achievement. So you can directly see where you are on the TIMSS mathematics and the pearls reading scales. A very nice feature of that.
And of course, that opens up for prediction, but predictions will always be with some sort of uncertainty. But I think bringing it on the same scale is have been an enormous effort and accomplishment, and I think it's very important to really emphasize this once again. That gives a linkage between the pearls and the TIMSS studies with LaNA. Any other questions from the room? Yes, please. We need a microphone. Yes.
Bonjour, est-ce que ça marche?
Allô, bonjour. Je m'appelle Étienne Ouedraogo. Je suis coordonnateur national recherche LaNA du Burkina Faso. Et vraiment, merci beaucoup pour toutes les présentations. C'était très clair et puis avec les graphiques, ça nous permet de comprendre davantage. C'est vrai qu'on avait déjà eu les premières publications qui sont provisoires, mais aujourd'hui, on est plus édifié sur les résultats. Et ma première question porte sur la périodicité des évaluations LaNA. Et parce qu'on a parlé d'autres évaluations qui se font 5 ans, comme le PASEC. Au niveau aussi des pays, il y a des évaluations qui se font chaque 2 ans. Mais quelle sera la périodicité pour les évaluations LaNA? Deuxième question concerne, et là parce que je n'ai pas bien compris, donc vous m'excusez, il s'agit de la pyramide. Quand vous présentez les différents niveaux de score, et en bas de la pyramide, il y a le niveau vraiment basique. Est-ce que ce niveau existait dans les autres études, Teams et Pearls, ou bien c'est avec LaNA qu'on a établi? Parce que j'ai vu, on a mis New, donc je vais savoir si c'est avec cette étude que cette échelle a été ajoutée à la pyramide. Merci.
We will have the translation in the room now.
Can you hear me? All right. Good morning. Thank you for the constructive presentation that we have witnessed since this morning. So I'm the LaNA National Coordination for Burkina Faso. I had 2 questions regarding the presentation. The first one being relating to the products of LaNA assessment. So it is about the periodicity. How is it for a 5 years assessment or a 2 years assessment? Because I had a hard time understanding on which basis were those studies conducted. My other question was on the different level of scores that I have noticed on the pyramidal graphic that you have presented. Was it Tims and Pearls who produced that scaling, or was it something that has been updated? Because it is something new that I've noticed. So those are my 2 questions regarding the presentations.
Thank you very much. In short, for the first question, it's really, you know, you can do LaNA whenever you need to have an assessment pointing to the situation of your population. And that is different from the other of our studies, that it's to take down from the shelf and do it. And that, I mean, as a chair, I would encourage you to think about it. I think we are much agreeing on this, right, Dirk?
Yeah, absolutely. Pearls is on a 5-year cycle. So if you miss the point of jumping on it, you have to wait for some years. Tims is on a 4-year cycle. The advantage of LaNA is it's off the shelf. And also we have a rough schedule, how long it takes, including having a contract in place, translations, having a field trial, main server and reporting, and altogether it's about 18 months. So after 18 months, you have results whenever you want it. And I think that's a big advantage compared to Tims and Pearls. And it's also on paper, so it's much quicker to do. So that's clearly a big advantage. Maybe also about your second question. So far, we had the low benchmark as the lowest benchmark in Tims and Pearls. Now that we created this new benchmark, that also impacts Tims and Pearls. Now also in Tims and Pearls, we have this new basic benchmark in place. And we can calculate also the percentages of students in TIMSS and Pearls reaching this new benchmark. So there's also a feedback from LaNA to TIMSS and Pearls, and we also have that introduced now in the TIMSS and Pearls study. But let me say, we have the report, but much more important, we have the data available now. And the work didn't end now, the work just started. Now it's up to you and all the researchers out there, people who can use the data to inform policy. What's important, what's relevant in your countries. Please make use of the data. I think your national reports will be much, much more informative even than our international report. So I'm really looking forward to all the people using the data as much as possible.
Yeah, and just to add to what Dirk already explained, so the benchmarks that you saw from the low benchmark to the advanced benchmark, so that everything but the basic benchmark does come from TIMSS and Pearls. Those are the TIMSS and Pearls benchmarks. LaNA was now used to match those benchmarks with the new basic benchmark for mathematics and reading. But benchmark descriptions are produced based on the items from the assessment. So the description of the basic benchmark comes from the LaNA items that have been administered to students. So again, the basic benchmark comes from LaNA, the other benchmarks come from TIMSS and Pearls. All the benchmarks were placed on the same mathematics and reading scale from TIMSS and Pearls, so they can be compared.
Okay, last questions within the room. We had one, and then we have to break up for the break. So we'll take the last ones shortly.
Donc, merci à tous. Merci aux présentateurs pour la qualité des présentations. Moi, les résultats, c'est d'abord une remarque qu'on va adresser un peu au directeur de la réforme. Autant nos systèmes font la réforme du curriculum, mais autant la réforme de l'évaluation tarde. Parce qu'en réalité, quand on voit les résultats du Sénégal, on se rend compte que généralement, ça ne reflète pas la réalité, mais c'est la typologie de l'évaluation qui n'a pas connu de réforme au Sénégal. On l'a vu avec le PISA. Dès l'instant qu'on est dans des types d'évaluation du type TIMSS Pearls, nos élèves sont un peu déroutés parce que dans nos classes, il n'y a pas la réforme des manières d'évaluer. Ça, c'est pour le directeur de la réforme. Il faut penser à la réforme de l'évaluation. Donc, autre chose, il y a, par rapport à la LaNA, moi, j'avais une proposition sur la période d'administration de la LaNA. Est-ce que c'est fixe ou bien ça peut bouger? Parce que la LaNA, on l'a fait au mois de décembre. Généralement, ici, au mois de décembre, les élèves viennent des grandes vacances. Donc, les batteries sont un peu à plat. Donc, moi, je pense que si ce n'est pas fixe, pour nos pays, surtout les pays subsahariens, là, vaut mieux les mettre au mois d'avril et mai. Parce qu'au mois de décembre, les résultats, généralement, ils ne donnent pas la réalité. Parce que les gosses, généralement, c'est 4 mois de vacances même. Parce que dès le mois de mai, ils sont en vacances. Parce qu'il pleut, mois juin. Donc, il reste jusqu'au mois d'octobre, début novembre, pour débuter les cours. Si on fait un test, les résultats posent problème généralement. Donc, l'autre chose, c'est que cette étude de LaNA nous donne aussi une vision sur ce que nous devons faire après. Moi, je pense plutôt à une étude complémentaire pour un peu voir pourquoi les élèves sénégalais ont à ce point-là chuté. Pourquoi ça ne marche pas? Ça aussi, ça nous interpelle. Ce n'est pas une question. L'autre chose, c'est l'écart entre TIMSS, Pearls et LaNA. L'écart est trop grand. Je ne sais pas qu'est-ce qui explique ça. Est-ce que dans les pays qui font TIMSS et Pearls, c'est des pays avec un indice de développement humain très élevé qui pourrait expliquer ça? Ou bien, je ne sais pas, peut-être que nos systèmes sont un peu à la traîne. Ensuite, c'est une requête que je voudrais. Moi, je pense qu'on a eu à bénéficier de beaucoup de formations, mais je pense qu'il y a un module qui serait intéressant pour le prochain LaNA, c'est la détermination des seuils de compétences. Comment vous construisez vos seuils? Comme ça, nous, on pourrait l'utiliser dans nos évaluations. Donc, pratiquement, c'est ce que j'avais retenu par rapport à la présentation. Merci encore. Et félicitations pour Olivier et son équipe qui nous ont beaucoup accompagnés. Clara, merci.
Thank you. We will have a translation within the room, also for the online listeners.
So, good morning. Thank you for the very constructive presentation that you have presented to us. So I had a concern on the time of the evaluation of the LaNA project, because it is conducted on December, and here in Senegal on December, children come straight from holidays, which makes the LaNA results a little bit questionable when it comes to reliability and efficiency. My other concern is why are the Senegalese performance so low? Maybe this is something related to the TIMS and Pearls evaluation, which actually leads to my second question, to my other question. Why are TIMS and Pearls assessment so differential from one country to another? So the other thing is, who does it benefit from? Who those evaluations benefit from the most? And the last thing is, how can we determine the competence scale based on the results produced by those evaluation? And I would end up congratulating Mr. Oliver for his tremendous help, him and his team through these sessions. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Actually, some of the things, the second question on investigating the differences, I think we will have that in the panel discussion as well. But for the first question, it's always, the students' capacity or proficiency at the time of testing. And of course, after a holiday, it might be different, but you can take that into account. And if you assess again a future cycle and do it in the same time, you will have the precise difference or gap over time. So that's one of the benefits. And perhaps on the scales and TIMS and Pearls, Lael.
What was the question again?
It was on whether or not the scales, as I understood it, for the LaNA and the TIMS and Pearls, the equation, I think.
Maybe I just, I think what was done is we had the concurrent administration of the TIMS and Pearls items and also the LaNA items, and I think with that we had a very nice linking, and we can now have it on the same scale, so that whoever wants to conduct LaNA and to repeat that, LaNA can be conducted now anytime you want it. So you choose when you want to administer it. If you want to administer it in December or in June or whenever it suits you, we can accommodate that. Maybe one last response, because you asked also who's benefiting. I think everyone is benefiting. The students are benefiting, but all other countries are benefiting. I'm clearly of the opinion that every country can learn something from every other country. Every education systems have something that they're extremely good at and something that can be improved. So it's my deepest understanding that participating in these studies benefits your country's education system, but with participation in these studies, you also gives the opportunity to other countries to learn from your education systems. And we have seen that there's also some very surprising and very positive results also in all of these countries. And I think that's something that every country can take into account. And I think we all want to learn also from your countries, how did you do that? And that's then benefiting all education systems. All educations can learn something from every other system, no matter where you are, in Asia, in Europe, in Africa, in America, North or South. It doesn't matter. We can learn from each other. This is what this is all about. Thank you.
Okay. In order for keeping time, I hope for your understanding that we will break out for the pause now, the break. We will take up the discussion again during the panel. Keep your questions. I'm sure they are very important, and I like the lively questioning atmosphere here. Thank you for that. We will be back here in 15 minutes, so 11:40. Okay, welcome back. Also, I think for the online participants, it was such a lively discussion, so it took a few minutes more to get in here, but now we are ready to take the panel discussion on perspectives on the importance and of the impact of the LaNA study. We have among us here for the panel Dr. Julius Adedautio from Nigeria, Alwen Badara Diop from Senegal, Kanwal Ayes from Pakistan, Mohammed O. Mata Mustafa from Palestine, Etienne Quadregano from Burkina Faso. What I would like to do as a start, I think it's the question that is on everybody's mind. Now you have participated in this study, and you've shown that it's been very interesting and important. But let me start with a round, and we will start from my side and from the other side and onwards. Sorry. And we will address the question, what is the relevance of the LaNA to your country in the LaNA project? And please start with your questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, as you know, the Pakistan is also a signatory of the SDGs to be completed by 2030. So, reporting of the SDG 4.1.B, which you have already mentioned, that is the assessment at the end of the primary grade in the literacy and numeracy. So, LaNA would definitely help us to monitor the progress towards the SDG 4.1.1B. Also, I think based on the results, it will surely enable us to inform our stakeholders who are responsible for the improvement in education. And this is the time to take actions and make some evidence-based policy recommendations. So to implement those policy recommendations, introduce some interventions or some remedial step and see the impact in our next assessments, even these are conducted nationally or internationally, for example, TIMSS and the PEARL. So this is how I found the LaNA related to our context.
Thank you so much. And please.
Thank you. I think in Palestine the case that providing rich data at this stage or at this group age, talking about 10 years old, 4th grade, 5th grade, is a unique opportunity that tell policymakers about after 4 years of schooling what's going on. And at the national level there is no assessment, national one or international one, that tackling this group. And we believe that this age is very, very important age that can tell us what's going before and what we can do next. So again, the secret term is data. So providing data is one issue that can help, the Ministry of Education in Palestine talking about what to do with this important study. The other one is, providing the system with tools, standardized ones, international ones, and piloted ones. So tools like LaNA tools, mathematics, language, is a new style of assessing students. And my team in the research center in the Ministry of Education try thinking how we can develop our national assessment using this approach of testing students, having 8 booklets, more than one passage in one test, in the test, and so on. So again, this is the other one. The third one, I think that we start, advocating for sharing this data with academia, with university scholars, with university researchers, PhD students, master thesis students, and we hope that this data is another field of research that they can use to provide some qualitative and quantitative indicators to the Ministry of Education, because in our case we have one Ministry of Education and Higher Education. So higher education researchers is needed here, and we will share the data and we start explaining how to analyze the data, and we hope that the coming sessions can give us again much more information about how we can share such ideas with universities. Thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing these insights, and once again addressing the importance that the data is there and can be analyzed for future questions as well. Please, what are your experiences and how have it been?
Thank you very much. Bon, je parle au nom de l'équipe du Sénégal. Et notre participation à la nouvelle évaluation de la littératie et de la numératie LaNA, de l'INEADE, une évaluation destinée aux élèves en fin d'école primaire, pilotée par l'Association internationale pour l'évaluation du rendement scolaire, a contribué au suivi des objectifs internationaux en matière d'éducation, notamment l'objectif de développement durable relatif à l'éducation. La participation du Sénégal à l'évaluation LaNA, Literacy and Numeracy Assessment, est une deuxième expérience pour nous avec la merveilleuse équipe de l'INEADE et celle de Boston College. Au-delà des renseignements que LaNA va fournir sur le niveau de compétence des élèves et sur la vitalité du système éducatif sénégalais, cette évaluation a permis de renforcer la capacité de l'équipe technique nationale dans plusieurs domaines. En docimologie, le partage des items et l'interaction dynamique qui s'en est suivie ont permis à l'équipe technique de renforcer son expérience en matière d'élaboration d'items. Au niveau du codage, la diversification des codes pour mieux se rapprocher de la valeur intrinsèque de la production de l'élève est aussi une grande leçon apprise. Dans le cadre du codage, l'utilisation du logiciel DME procure à la fois une compétence pratique à l'équipe technique nationale et une fiabilité très élevée d'un instrument de gestion transversale. De même, l'application W3IST, utilisée dans le cadre de l'échantillonnage des classes et des élèves et dans l'attribution des carnets, constitue une belle et utile découverte pour l'équipe du Sénégal. Ainsi, l'équipe technique se réjouit de la généreuse collaboration et de la richesse des transferts de compétences dans une perspective commune. Réussir la mise en œuvre de LaNA dans tous les pays et disposer de pratiques scientifiquement avérées qu'on peut transférer dans la mise en œuvre des évaluations nationales. Et en conclusion, les résultats ne sont pas très reluisants pour le Sénégal, mais ça peut être lié au fait qu'il y a nécessité de renforcer les capacités de nos enseignants. Parce qu'il y a un écart entre ce qui est techniquement standardisé au plan international et ce qui se fait concrètement dans les classes. C'est en tout cas une des recommandations que nous tirons déjà depuis ce matin. Merci.
We'll still have a translation in the room.
So thank you so much for giving me the floor. At the start of my remarks, on behalf of His Excellency Mr. Bassirou Diomaye Faye, President of the Republic of Senegal, I would like to thank the Executive Director of International Association for the Evaluation of Solid Achievements, AIE.
Non.
So,
ça, c'est le discours d'ouverture.
oui.
Il faut traduire ce que je viens de dire tout de suite.
En fait, c'est un rapport avec la question qu'il vient de
C'est une
poser.
façon d'introduire. Okay.
C'était une question qu'il vous avait adressée.
D'accord, c'est bon.
So today in our country, one of the links to consolidate the influence of education system remains the policy and practices to be implemented. Hence, the interest in the event that the International Association for the Evaluation of Solid Achievements, IEA, is giving us the opportunity to celebrate today in Dakar. In 2022, the executive director of the EIE invited our country to participate in a special administration concerning the new assessment of literacy and numeracy, LaNA. This, our country had favorably accepted by designated the National Institute of Study and Action for the Development of Education, INEADE, for the coordination of this evaluation intended for students and at the end of primary school. The results in Senegal are not very constructive based on the data that you have collected. These are one of the remarks that we'll highlight to the authorities, and thanks to your suggestions, we will try to redirect our policy accordingly so that it benefits to our country. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the insights in this question. Please.
Merci. Je voudrais tout d'abord remercier les autorités de l'éducation du Sénégal, pays hôte, pour la présente rencontre. Ici, je vais faire une déclaration et nous aurons l'occasion avec les autres panels de revenir sur ce qui a marché, sur ce qui a moins marché par rapport à notre expérience avec LaNA. Et donc cette déclaration s'adresse bien sûr à Monsieur le Président de l'IEA, Madame la Directrice de recherche pour les évaluations, Monsieur le Directeur de recherche principal études internationales, Monsieur le Directeur exécutif de l'IEA et mes collègues aussi, coordonnateurs nationaux. Donc pour nous, c'est vraiment un grand honneur pour avoir participé à cette enquête LaNA pilotée par l'IEA. Le Burkina Faso a participé avec 100 écoles, 100 écoles publiques ou privées situées en milieu rural et urbain, et avec 4 916 élèves, dont 44% de filles et participantes. Il ressort de la lecture des données provisoires que nous venons de voir que en mathématiques, 99% des élèves de 6e année d'études du Burkina ont un niveau qui va de basique à faible, avec une légère avance des garçons. En lecture-compréhension, 88% des élèves obtiennent des scores de niveau basique à légère, avec cette fois-ci une légère avance des filles. Les résultats de ce projet représentent une avancée significative dans l'évaluation des apprentissages de connaissances et compétences fondamentales des élèves en fin de cycle primaire de notre pays. Grâce aux différentes capsules de formation dont nous avons bénéficié tout au long du déroulement de ce projet, nous maîtrisons tout le processus allant de l'échantillonnage à la saisie des données. Nous disposons maintenant de critères de référence internationales permettant de classer les performances de nos élèves selon ces critères, par conséquent de pouvoir établir des comparaisons internationales. Le rapport que publie LaNA aujourd'hui et les rapports et autres documents nationaux que nous rédigerons constituent des outils précieux de référence pour guider les politiques éducatives et les interventions des partenaires de l'éducation dans la perspective d'améliorer les compétences des élèves dans des disciplines structurantes que sont la lecture-compréhension et les mathématiques. Grâce à l'engagement des différents acteurs, enseignants, directeurs d'école, élèves et partenaires institutionnels, nous avons pu administrer les livrets et les questionnaires, puis saisir les données, toutes choses qui ont permis aux experts de l'IEA et du Boston College de produire les rapports généraux dont la publication intervient ce jour. La base de données du Burkina permettra de rédiger d'autres documents comme le rapport national, le résumé exécutif, des dépliants ou pour une publication à large échelle au niveau par plusieurs canaux. Au nom des membres de l'équipe du Burkina, je tiens à remercier l'IEA pour son appui financier méthodologiques et techniques à travers les différentes sessions de formation et d'assistance à distance coordonnées efficacement par nos amis Olivier et Clara. Le Burkina Faso fait face à une grande crise sécuritaire qui affecte le monde de l'éducation. Donc, notre participation à l'étude LaNA n'aurait pas été envisageable sans cet appui financier. L'éducation est un levier puissant de développement et nous devons tous, en tant que décideurs, chercheurs et acteurs du secteur éducatif, nous appuyer sur ces résultats pour renforcer l'apprentissage de la lecture, compréhension et des mathématiques qui conditionnent l'acquisition de compétences dans d'autres disciplines. Que ce rapport soit une boussole pour nos futures actions et une inspiration pour une éducation plus qualitative, équitable et performante. Je vous remercie.
Merci. We will have a translation in the room.
Ladies and gentlemen, the education authorities of Senegal, host country of this meeting, Mr. President of the IEE, Madam Researcher, Director for Digital Assessment, Boston College International Tims and Pearls Study, Mr. Principal Researcher Director, International Tims and Pearls Study and Boston College, Mr. Executive Director of the IEA, dear colleagues, national coordinators, distinguished guests. It is with immense honor that I speak today as National Researcher Coordinator of Burkina Faso as part of the LaNA project led by the IEA. Burkina Faso participated in the evaluation with 100 public or private schools located in urban or rural areas and 4,916 students, including 44% girls. A reading of provisional data reveals the following according to the international standard used for TIMS and PEARLS assessments. In mathematics, 99% of students in 6th year of study in Burkina Faso have a basic to low level with a slight advance for boys. In reading comprehension, 88% of students obtained scores at a basic to slight level, this time with a slight lead for girls. The results of this project represent a significant advance in the evaluation of the learning of fundamental knowledge and skills of students at the end of primary cycle in Burkina Faso. Thanks to the various training capsules that we benefited from throughout the course of this project, we all mastered the process from sampling to data entry. We now have international reference criteria allowing us to classify the performance of our students according to these criteria and therefore to be able to establish international comparisons. The reports that LaNA is publishing today and the reports and other national documents that we will write constitute valuable reference tools to guide educational policies and the interventions of education partners with a view to improving students' skills in structuring discipline of reading comprehension and mathematics. Thanks to the commitment of the various stakeholders, teachers, school principals, students, and international partners, we were able to administer the booklets and questionnaires and then enter the data, all of which allowed the experts from IEA and Boston College to produce the general report, which will be published today. The Burkina database will make it possible to draft other documents such as the national report, the executive summary, leaflets for large-scale publication through several channels. On behalf of the members of the Burkina Faso team, I would like to thank the IEA for its financial, methodological, and technical support through the various training and remote assistance sessions. Burkina Faso is facing a major security crisis which is affecting the world of education. So our participation in the LaNA study would not have been possible without this financial support. Education is a powerful level for development. as we must all, as decision makers, researchers, and stakeholders in the education sector, rely on these results to strengthen the learning of reading, comprehension, and mathematics, which conditions the acquisition of skill in other disciplines. May this report be a compass for our future actions and an inspiration for more qualitative, equitable, and efficient education. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing this with us. And lastly, we have the responses from Palestine. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Please.
Let me say good morning or good afternoon, wherever you are hearing me. My name is Julius. Firstly, let me appreciate the effort and technical support given by IEA to allow Nigeria to participate in the literacy and numeracy assessment LANA in Nigeria. The Universal Basic Education Commission, which is a commission in Nigeria that is responsible for basic education program in Nigeria, prioritizes the issue of a large-scale assessment. And so far since 2001, the National Assessment of Learning Achievement in Basic Education, which we call NALABE, 6th editions have been carried out so far in Nigeria. We started in 2001, and the last one was conducted in 2022. And in our quest to ensure that we carried out the national assessment that is internationally standard, we have been in collaboration with so many agencies outside Nigeria. IEA is part of them. In 2000, we were in Netherlands to have a strong collaboration with IEA for giving us technical support in carrying out our national assessment in Nigeria. National assessment is very, very crucial to us because the report is being used to gauge the standard of education in Nigeria and the policy decision to know how we can improve the standard of education at basic education level. Basic education level in Nigeria comprises of ECCDE, primary 1 to primary 6, and junior secondary 1 to 3. And this has been our doctrine every 3 years based on the available fund. So when LANA came, we used the opportunity of participating in LANA to enhance our performance in the learning assessment. It is very, very crucial to us. And during the LANA, a lot of things came up, a lot of improvement came up in the process of conducting our national assessment. Apart from technical support, capacity building of officers that participated in LANA, it exposed the country to a lot of skills and mechanism that needed to be put in place when national assessment is being carried out. During the conduct of this LANA assessment, 100 schools were sampled and used in Nigeria. Nigeria has about 131 primary school, 131 million primary schools, but only 100 were sampled, and about 31 million now something students, but only 5,000 were picked. Though this may be very, very infinitesimal in the selection, but we are very, very appreciative to be part of the assessment. And so far, so good. A lot of lessons have been learned. The test item of international standard and skill-based that allows students for logical thinking and life skill exercise And as well, the achievement test instrument, literacy and numeracy, that is mathematics and reading, and the contextual aspect, which is the questionnaire used, produced using the booklet together, has really helped us. Because what we used to do when we conduct our activities, we used to do the achievement test separately and the questionnaire separately. So we found it difficult to link the performance of the learners together, which caused a lot of the process being put in place during LaNA has helped us to learn how we can merge the cognitive and non-cognitive together during the administration. And the use of alternative multiple choice test instrument enhances efficiency in the administration as 8 booklets of the same cognitive standard and difficulty index were used to avoid manipulation and examination malpractice. And then the contextual aspect has really exposed the head teacher of various schools to how they can keep and provide the data at a particular point in time. I can understand how many times Oliver was calling, asking for a lot of data with my Dr. Ibrahim colleague there, give us this, give us that, give us this. And this has really enhanced our performance in terms of data collection, data analysis, and data provision. So the LaNA participation in Nigeria has really exposed us to a lot of improvement in conducting learning assessment, especially in a large scale. Thank you very much.
Thank you for sharing this. I mean, of course, you will learn a lot about your students within the country, the results, the background questionnaires, the relationship between school factors and outcome. But as you also mentioned, there is another learning going on, and that's the capacity building within countries participating in international large-scale assessments or large-scale assessments. I would like to just take a short round where you reflect, or just a minute, we will have the microphone repaired. Now it's repaired.
Thank you so much. I would like to have a short round where ask you to reflect and share your thoughts about the capacity building in your teams in the countries conducting these type of studies. Several of you have mentioned it during your presentation, but also in previous meetings, that it's not only what is learned about the population, but also what is learned by the different teams conducting it. And perhaps we can start from the other side of the table with a few comments on capacity building in your country.
Nous avons évoqué toute l'importance de ce projet par rapport au renforcement des capacités de notre équipe. Et je pense que la question, c'est ça. Ça concerne les compétences que nous avons acquises. C'est ça la question. Voilà, donc je dirais, comme je l'ai annoncé dans ma déclaration, et ce fut une occasion. C'est vrai que notre équipe avait déjà travaillé avec l'INEADE dans le cadre d'autres projets de recherche comme Responses to Educational Disruption. Je ne sais pas comment on traduit ça en français. Donc, c'était une occasion pour nous de renforcer nos capacités. Mais cette fois-ci, c'était encore plus intéressant parce que ce n'est pas les mêmes questions. Alors, le premier projet concernait surtout les enseignants, l'école, alors que cette fois-ci, c'est l'évaluation des acquis scolaires qui est au cœur même de l'éducation scolaire. Tout ce que nous parlons en termes de qualité de l'éducation, si on ne mesure pas réellement ce que les enfants acquièrent dans des disciplines aussi importantes que sont la langue et les mathématiques, mais on ne mesure que les services éducatifs. Or, est-ce que ces services éducatifs apportent les résultats escomptés? Est-ce que ça change quelque chose dans les compétences et les connaissances des élèves? Donc, pour nous, c'était d'abord, je vais dire qu'aujourd'hui, l'évaluation de la qualité de l'éducation se base surtout sur l'évaluation des acquis scolaires, d'où nous pouvons dire que ce que nous avons acquis comme compétences est vraiment majeur parce que ces compétences en évaluation, ce n'est pas très répandu. C'est vrai, il y a la direction des études statistiques, des études et des évaluations, mais ce n'est pas à une échelle très large. Ça reste l'apanage des planificateurs, des statisticiens et des informaticiens, alors que cette fois-ci, nous avons une équipe qui est un peu extra. Je voudrais dire que, vu l'organisation de ce projet, ce n'était pas piloté par la direction des évaluations en tant que tel. Le ministère nous a détachés, nous a donné l'autorisation pour faire ce travail, parce que ceux qui sont au niveau de la direction ont déjà beaucoup de choses à faire, et la manière dont l'IA organise, ça ne va pas toujours de pair avec les activités. Donc, c'était une occasion pour nous de maîtriser, comme je l'ai dit. Et comme je l'ai dit, il y a des formations à chaque activité, à chaque étape. L'équipe de Hambourg nous donne une formation, bien sûr en collaboration avec le Boston College, parfois, surtout quand ça concerne les aspects de traitement des données, d'échantillonnage. Donc, nous avons maîtrisé tout ce processus, depuis l'échantillonnage jusqu'à ce que je l'ai dit, le traitement des données. Et le traitement des données, c'est beaucoup de jeunes gens, notamment des étudiants, qui participent, qui sont formés aussi par l'équipe de recherche locale pour pouvoir traiter les données. Ce qui veut dire que si nous avons une autre étude similaire, ça va être plus vite. Ça va être plus vite parce que la compétence y est. Et ce sont des gens qui travaillent déjà sur des questions similaires comme le PASSEC et l'évaluation des acquis scolaires. Donc, ça ne fait que renforcer leurs capacités. C'est ce que je peux dire pour le moment. Merci.
Thank you, merci. Translation for the room.
So, thank you so much for your question. So I would like to start answering your questions by saying that we already have worked with LaNA on a response on educational disruption, which was a capacity building training that they proposed to us. But afterward, we haven't had any. And that's what actually makes me say that we need maybe a capacity building on how to conduct off-cycle those evaluation, knowing that internally the ministry evaluation, which actually we have been ordered to do many times, doesn't always cope with the IAE principles. And it doesn't always cope with, the ministry's way of conducting those assessments, which actually makes me say that we definitely need some capacity building on having the AIA principle integrated in our processes, so we can be on the same page when it comes to results and performance, but also in terms of reliable results after evaluation. So this is basically what he said.
Thank you so much. We have 10 minutes left, so short reflections. From a Senegal perspective.
Voilà, merci. Que pour le Sénégal, il faut quand même envisager les perspectives en termes d'amélioration de la qualité de l'éducation, la qualité des résultats de l'apprentissage. Et le rapport a révélé à travers des données contextuelles qu'il faut d'abord commencer par l'appropriation du rapport. À tous les niveaux. Quand je dis à tous les niveaux, au niveau stratégique d'abord, au niveau du ministère, parce que le rapport a révélé qu'il y a nécessité d'apporter des améliorations dans le processus même de planification. Et il serait bon de partager, en tout cas, avec un certain nombre de représentants du ministère, les résultats de LaNA pour qu'on les intègre dans la planification. Et au niveau contextuel, on a relevé qu'il y a des informations extrêmement utiles. Par exemple, la relation entre absence et performance. Il y a par exemple la perception des apprenants par rapport à la lecture ou par rapport à la mathématique. Très souvent, ces informations ne sont pas à la portée des enseignants qui sont dans les classes. Et c'est pourquoi je pense qu'à travers l'appropriation, le partage, la dissémination des rapports, on peut essayer même d'aller au-delà des résultats internationaux, d'extraire les résultats du Sénégal et de partager véritablement la réalité de notre pays. Parce que je ne veux pas utiliser l'expression du directeur exécutif qui disait qu'il était très choqué par les résultats. Je le suis aussi, parce que j'ai constaté que par rapport à notre participation à la collaboration antérieure avec l'IA, il y a une légère baisse. Maintenant, la question, la perspective, pourquoi cette baisse? Comment corriger? Et je pense que c'est tout ça qui va alimenter le renforcement de capacité.
Thank you. Short summary in English.
Oh, thank you so much for giving me the floor. First of all, I need to say that the report revealed that in Senegal we needed to appropriate those reports because it has been shown that the teachers don't always have access to those results, which actually doesn't always depict the principle of the LaNA research. And I joined the executive director who is shocked by how low the results of Senegal was. I myself was very shocked. And to me, it is important for us, as I said, to appropriate the result and take benefit of it as much as we can so that to avoid such a performance in the future. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And please.
Please, I think I may name it learning process rather than capacity building. And the coming learning is much more important than the previous one, because how to deal with data, how to utilize findings at the education system is much more important than how to conduct the assessment. So I can classify this learning in 3 layers: the Ministry of Education central level layer, and the district layer. We have districts in our case, and the school layer. So on the central layer, sampling is a very important issue. My sampling manager our sampling is used to adopt this methodology in the national assessment sampling approach, and we are progressing on that with the help of sampling team from LaNA team, and also data processing, data preparing, data cleaning at the central level is very important. Translating tools, learning from this translation is very important at the central level, and we are collaborating with the Egyptian team also to translate in Arabic language, which is another collaboration, networking with other experts in the region, and we can build on that for regional activities maybe later. Also, I can say about the district level how to prepare schools, how to train the test administrators in this, standardized approach, how to conduct such assessment with zero errors. It's important with zero errors. So it's another learning process at the district level. They are now talking about conducting what we call unified assessment tests using the methodology of LaNA. We can do tests like the same in LaNA. It is not secret. At the school level, we are now working with teachers, subject supervisors in developing what we call remedial materials based on TIMSS and BAILS frameworks and based on TIMSS and BAILS released items. So they are starting developing packages for all schools in reading and in mathematics using such approach. This is really what we need from our students, not only keeping in mind and memorizing. So this approach is again start working in our schools, and we hope that we are continuing supporting those subject committees, we call them, working on this frameworks. So I may advise that we can have much more released items, not only from LaNA but also from BAILS, from TIMSS. That those models or item models is very important to develop the capacity of the teachers and how to build their own teacher-made testing. Thank you.
Thank you so much. There are so many different perspectives, but from Pakistan?
I would like to keep it literally brief and minimal. As I have previously mentioned, that the National Assessment Wing of Pakistan Institute of Education is the only national body which is responsible for the assessments in the Pakistan. They have completed the several cycles of large-scale assessment, so we are already aware of the certain things. But there are the few aspects. For example, student tracking form. It was new to us. So whenever there is a new project, there is something new for us to learn. So student tracking was one of them. Class sampling technique, which is provided by Clara and Oliver, and it was really amazing to track the student before the actual test. After that, the software DME, we have worked on that, and Clara and Oliver and their team trained us how to use that, and recently the IDB analyzer. So I think these are the really excellent aspect which my team, my organization has used, and we consider at all of these as the capacity building part of our team.
Thank you so much. So capacity building is also about tools, software, and being supported by the organization. And to conclude the panel, a last remark.
Yes, thank you very much. LaNA has really helped in terms of capacity building. Just like some of the respondents said, the area of sampling techniques, it has really helped us in Nigeria. Nigeria has large numbers of schools, and when we want to do assessment like this, how do we sample so that we can consider a lot of things when we are doing the analysis and the implementation of result? We should be able to get it done. And then majorly the student test tracking code that was identified at the initial stage. We have the tracking code for the learners, that this is the instrument that must be administered for a learner and a particular school. You cannot take instrument for a learner for another person. So that gives us a lot of instinct on how the activity can be effectively carried out. And a lot of process of analysis, which we are highly involved, really helped us in carrying out the activity. And this will help us when we are doing our national assessment in Nigeria, because we have to bring it in so that we should be able to get a perfect result. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And that concluded the panel for now. This was the end of the event, but it is at the same time the start of the joint adventure into learning more from the data, learning more from each other, and improving education for all children worldwide. So thank you for participating.
Thank you. Thank you. Well done. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Sorry for the naming.
No problem.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Good you made it. Good you made it.